What's good, y'all? All right, now, you see, I got my laptop, got my Bible. Oh, and let me let y'all know up front, this video is about the Lord. This is about God. This ain't about, it's about the coronavirus, but it's mainly about God. I want to make sure I say that first and foremost because I don't like clickbait myself. I don't like it when people title videos a certain way to get you to look at it, and then once you look at it, you see that it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be about. So I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that this is, clickbait, because like I said, I don't like clickbait myself. This video is about the Lord. But I do want to talk about the coronavirus on here. Now, I'm going to say this too. A lot of people, the world we live in right now, a lot of people don't like for you to have your own mind. People want you to think the way they want you to think, and people get mad if you don't think the way they think. Also, I want to say that before I get started, that when it comes to God, we have to remember this. God will always be, put it like this, there's knowledge, there's information that we can get from so many different sources. But information that comes from God is always going to trump any information that you get from anywhere else. That means a doctor can come in the room and say, you're terminal and you only have 6 months to live. But if God says otherwise, then God's information is always going to topple anything else. So with that being said, let's go ahead on and talk about this video right quick now. The first thing I want to point out is a few days ago, the last video I did was on Psalm 19. And I know that's not a coincidence because it ties into what I want to show you here. And I believe that God put this on my heart. Look at my book, y'all. Look at my book. I can't take credit and say I've been reading this book. This book just raggedy. Okay, Psalm chapter 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse proclaims the work. The expanse proclaims the work of his hands. That means all you have to do is look up and you can see God's glory and you can see his work. Day after day, they pour out speech. Night after night, they communicate knowledge. There is no speech. There are no words. Their voice is not heard. Their message has gone out to the whole earth, and their words to the ends of the world. So basically what it's saying is that day and night, God is pouring out knowledge to you. And you can't hear words, but if you just look around, you can see it. And it doesn't have a voice, but it reaches the whole world. Now this is saying that God, the way God has created this world, all you gotta do is look around and you can gain knowledge. And that's what I want to show you guys is let's just go off of what we see for a little while. Let's just do that for a few minutes. And also let me say this. I'm not one way or the other trying to convince anyone to do anything except focus on the Lord. That's it. I'm not trying to get anybody to take a vaccine. I'm not trying to convince anybody not to take a vaccine. All I want to do is get you to look at what the Lord is showing us. All right. So this is a chart that I pulled up from Google. It's from the New York Times list. It's the new cases and deaths in Louisiana. This is based off of Friday. They haven't updated it yet since Friday, the weekend, and today is a holiday, so they haven't updated it. But on Friday, there were 14,000 new cases in Louisiana. That's in one day. One day. Friday, they recorded 14,000 new cases of COVID. And the 7-day average at that time was 12,000 cases a day. So for the last 7 days, there have been at least 12,000 new cases of COVID daily. And on Friday, that number was exactly 14,158. That's just in one day now. So if you look at this chart, if you take it all the way back, it goes all the way back to when COVID first started. This was in 2020 in March when COVID first hit the scene, right? Now, if we look at the daily average, this is when it first started growing. You see the numbers are changing daily, 200, 300, 400, plus the 7-day average. Now, it started in March, right? Let's see. We get to around where the max was at about, let's see. Yeah, it's 7. Okay, so around here was kind of high. Around July, we was up to about 2,000 cases a day. This was in 2020. Now, remember, this is, we were put on lockdown, and eventually those numbers started going down. But slowly we kept opening back up, and, so the numbers never really got a chance to go all the way down to zero because we kept opening back up bit by bit. And now, the numbers are going back up again. This is probably around the time they reopen completely. Now, let's say around here, December 10th, December 11th. This is where the numbers were. They were at about 2,000 a day in December of 2020. Now, December 2020, okay, they were at about 2,000 a day. Let's just go ahead and move a little forward to January. January, they were at about 3,000. This was about the peak. This was the peak of for Louisiana. This was the highest that it was during the first surge of COVID. The average was about 3,000 a day. It really didn't get much higher than that because, you see, after this starts going back down. And then we're getting ready to enter the Delta part, which started in July of 21. So in Louisiana, the most we saw was on a 7-day average was about 3,000 and something a day, right? Now, if we look here, this is the FDA site. See right here, since December 11, 2020, the Pfizer vaccine has been available. So around December was when they introduced the vaccine, one of the vaccines, right? December of 2020. Now, let's go back to our chart. December 2020, right? This is where we peaked out at about 3,000 cases on a 7-day average. It was January. This is where we peaked out, somewhere around here. The Pfizer came out a month before. Now, so up until this point, up until there were no vaccines, right? Matter of fact, we can go back to right before the vaccine came out. We were at 2,000, right? So the vaccine comes out around this time. So up until the vaccine, the max that Louisiana saw on a 7-day average was around 2,000. This was before we ever had a vaccine, y'all. Just bear with me. This is not a lie. This is facts right here. This was before. So before the world saw a vaccine, Louisiana, the highest amount of cases we saw on a 7-day average was about 2,000, right? Then the first vaccine came out. So let's move on over. January was the peak of it. So now it's going back down. It's going back down. This goes down all the way till we get to about somewhere around July, I think. It's just staying at around 400 during May, 300 during June. We even saw 200 in June. Now in July, Delta's here, and now it's going back up. But even with Delta, the max we saw, look at that. It's around 5,000, huh? The max with Delta was around 5,000, and you see it's going back down. So with Delta, the max amount of cases we saw on a 7-day average here in Louisiana was 5,000. That was the max during Delta. That was around August. That was the peak. Was around August, right? Now let's look at this. The first booster. This was in September. A month after the peak, right? A month after a peak. So the first vaccine was a month before the peak. The booster was a month after the peak, September and October. You see, the FDA. See right here, the FDA authorizes booster dose. This was September of 2021, and this was in October of 2021. You see the FDA talking about the boosters, the Moderna and the Pfizer. The Pfizer was released on September, and the Moderna was released in October. All right, let's go back to our chart. So again, so the peak was around here, somewhere in August of 2021. And then here come the boosters in September, right? Here come the boosters in September. Okay, now the virus is dying. And now that brings us to where we are now. All of a sudden, in December, it comes back, the Omicron variant. And now we're up to 14,000 cases in one day, and an average of 12,000 cases. We're at the peak of it right now. A 7-day average, 12,000. Now, this is what I want us to look at. When this thing first started, back in 2020, before we ever saw a vaccine, the highest 7-day average in Louisiana was somewhere around 3,000. After the vaccine came, the highest average we saw was somewhere around 5,000. Then after the booster came, now the highest average we see is somewhere around 12,000. So now check this out. Because you still got some people that's out here saying, oh, it just keeps going up because of the unvaccinated people. Well, I'm not really sure about that, just based on what the world is showing us. Right here, it says that 62.8% of the country's population is vaccinated. And this next one, usvax.org, it's saying 64%. So we know somewhere around 60-something% of the United States is vaccinated. Over half of the people in the United States are vaccinated, right? But when nobody was vaccinated, the highest COVID numbers we saw was around 3,000 a day. Actually, when nobody was vaccinated, it was around 2,000 a day. This was when nobody was vaccinated. December of 2020, when nobody was vaccinated, the highest was around 2,000 a day. Now half of the country is vaccinated, and we're seeing 12,000 a day. Now, I may not be the smartest man in the world, But after half of the country has been vaccinated, shouldn't those numbers be going down? Look, all I'm saying is there's going to come a time in this world when they're going to want you to take something called the mark of the beast. And I don't know how far in the future that's going to be. But we can listen to what people tell us, or we can actually use wisdom and go by what the world is showing us. All I'm saying is that these numbers should make us ask questions. If the government comes out and says, hey, everyone take the flu shot this year, and then we have huge numbers of people going to take the flu shot this year, and then months after that, everybody starts catching the flu, aren't you going to question the vaccine and say, well, wait a minute? This is all I'm saying. Because now they're talking about a fourth dose. And I'm just saying, when are we going to start asking questions? Like, why are these numbers skyrocketing? Why are these numbers going up so high? It doesn't make sense to me. Vaccines aren't supposed to be 99% effective. I get that. I mean, they're only they're not 100%. I get that. But this thing is going backwards, man. The more people that get vaccinated, the more the COVID rate rise. And it doesn't just rise, man. It's like tripled. So I'm just saying that we should ask questions. I'm just saying that we should ask questions and look around us, because the world is tricky, man. The world is tricky. And again, when Satan comes, he's going to have all kind of great things to say. He's going to make it sound all wonderful and turn people against each other and all this and that. But the evidence is right here in front of us. Day and night speaks knowledge to us. I know this video went a little longer than I wanted it to, but the last thing I'm going to say is this. In the Bible, Jesus says, you can look at the face of the sky and you can tell when it's going to rain. So why can't you discern the signs of the times? That's all I got for y'all, man. Again, I'm not trying to make nobody do anything except open your eyes and focus on the Lord. And focus on the Lord and try to receive knowledge and try to receive his knowledge. We live in a world where people don't even question things. Nobody's saying anything about this. That's all I got, man. Love y'all. Be blessed. Be watchful. Love God. Love each other.